I'm Chris Farrell from Walking the Walking Dead, a podcast member of the GonnaGeek Network, just like the show you're listening to now. The opinions expressed are those of each individual, but you can check out other podcasts at GonnaGeekNetwork.com. Now get ready, because geekiness begins in 3, 2, 1.
You're listening to Crimson Comet, a fan podcast about the TV show dedicated to the Scarlet Speedster himself, CW's The Flash.
Welcome to episode 22 of Crimson Comet. This week we'll be discussing The Flash, Season 1, Episode 18, All-Star Team Up!
Whoop whoop!
I'm John, aka Lobstah, and with me are...
I'm Haley, a.k.a. Awesome Engineering Girl.
And I'm Will, a.k.a. Rum Daddy.
Hey, do you like our podcast?
I do.
Do you want to find our podcast on the internet where you probably already found it?
I do.
You know, we have a website.
Where is it?
CrimsonCometPodcast.com.
That's a good website.
All one word? Crimson Comet Podcast?
CrimsonCometPodcast.com. You can find us on the Twitter at Crimson Podcast, on the Facebook, Crimson Comet Podcast, on the YouTube, Crimson Comet. We have a phone number where you can actually call and speak to us into our ears at 423-FLASH-53. That's 423-352-7453.
Ow, my earballs!
My earball! Eee. Right in the...
And if you wanted to email us, where can they reach us?
So you can email us, crimsoncomet@GonnaGeek.com.
CrimsonComet at GonnaGeek.com for the emails. The forums.GonnaGeek.com, or search for GonnaGeek on the tapatalk app.
And say you didn't live in the U.S., but you still wanted to send us a voicemail. Well, our number is a U.S. number, and we can't take international calls there.
Wah wah.
But you could record an MP3 on your computer or phone or whatever, and email it to us, crimsoncomet@GonnaGeek.com.
What if they recorded themselves on video, posted it to YouTube, and emailed us the link?
That would work as well.
Even better.
Yeah, we could rip the
Then
audio.
we get to see what they look like.
What if they posted something, they recorded themselves on video, and then recorded the audio on a tape recorder, called our voicemail, and just played the tape back?
They could do that. If you wanted to mail us a tape, like a cassette tape that you had recorded for inclusion on the podcast, just, send us an email and let me know, and I will give you an address to mail that tape to.
Yes.
Or a crossroads somewhere in this country that will meet up at a certain time and place and make the transfer.
Yeah, I will tell you which train to tape it to, and I will grab it as it comes by the tracks by my house.
Just remember to include the card number.
Do you guys want to hear something really cool?
Yeah.
You can listen to our podcast on 3 new platforms. You can listen to it on Spreaker, on Stitcher, and on Lazy River Radio.
I think you made at least one of those up.
I don't think I did. I think Lazy River Radio is a real thing.
All right.
Yeah, but Spreaker is not even a word.
Spreaker, that's not even a thing.
It's barely a thing.
It's barely a thing.
Not even a word. Who makes up a word like Spreaker?
So let's move on to a thing that I kind of want to talk about.
What do you want to talk about?
There was a show on this week. It's called The Flash.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Games of Thrones.
Well, that too. But on the show, The Flash, they had an episode. And it was called All-Star Team Up.
All-Star Team Up.
And there was a team up of All-Stars. And I think we should talk about that.
I mean, are they really... Is he really an all-star?
He's not... That one guy's not really a star at this point. I mean...
He's not even sure how to superhero yet.
He got his ass kicked by somebody else and then broke his suit. And now he needs Cisco to Cisco it.
I think by all-stars, they were referring to the Brainiac team.
Yeah. Really, Felicity was the star.
Yeah, Felicity, who could not wait to get her fingers on keyboards.
I would love to be that keyboard.
Would you now?
Very much so.
You want Felicity to push your buttons?
Unfortunately, she did not have to take her top off in this episode.
Oh, darn. Nobody took their top off in this episode. It was kind of sad.
Yeah.
Like, I'm disappointed in that. I'm disappointed in the total lack of nudity in Daredevil. Just a disappointing week all around.
I am only 3 episodes in for Daredevil.
Well, spoilers, there's no nudity.
Yeah.
Damn it.
There's barely even shirtless scenes.
I'm on episode 8, and there's not really been much nudity.
But we shouldn't be talking about Daredevil. It's a whole other universe.
Wrong universe, you guys.
Wrong universe.
So, let's start at the beginning. with bees.
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 You get bees, and you get bees, and you get bees.
Bees.
There will be a very special GIF in this week's show notes, so check them out, crimsoncommentpodcast.com.
But make sure you carry your EpiPen with you just in case.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. But would that even work, though? Because they weren't real bees?
Probably not, because it's like way more venom than you would get from a bee, so I don't think the EpiPen's going to cut it.
John, it's not a real EpiPen.
It's not a real show.
You'll have to get your EpiPen Cisco'd.
Right. All right, I want to say something. If we're going to start at the beginning, it's Barry is running around town putting all these guys in jail who are breaking into jewelry stores. And I know it's the character from the comic books, but part of me, I had a problem with two things of it. Barry's starting to get a little bit too cocky, and at the same time, I feel like Joe is starting to lean on him a little bit too much.
Well, I think Joe is starting to lean on him, and I think that Eddie is starting to get a little jealous because Joe has a new partner now.
Yeah, there's three problems going on here. I like Barry's cockiness, but now it's getting to be a little bit too, I don't know, just...
penisy?
Yeah, he's just too smug. He's starting to get a little bit too smug.
And I also think Eddie is kind of in the Detective Lance boat where he thinks they should be operating within the confines of the law, and he's not really on board with this whole vigilante thing.
Right.
Right.
But it gets results, man.
Yeah, well, even to the point where Joe, when he had to go back to the lab to get results, and Barry goes, well, take it back to the lab to check the results. And Joe just goes, why don't you take it to Star Labs? It'll be a lot faster. It's like, you know what? Star Labs is not your lab. Your lab is the police lab.
Right. Isn't there going to be like some sort of chain of custody question on some of this evidence that's getting analyzed at Star Labs instead of the forensics lab?
Exactly.
Yep. Although we did say that there was no nudity in this episode, but there was implied nudity because they picked up a flasher and he was told to put it away.
That ain't something you should be showing people.
Yeah.
Yeah, true that. Oh, speaking of Star Labs, I went to WonderCon last week or the week before, something like that. I don't know. My days meld together.
Now that's the bread convention, right?
Yes, the white bread convention.
Remember the wonder.
So I went to WonderCon. Haley, guess what I picked up?
What'd you get?
I got the gray Star Labs t-shirt.
Ooh, Lobster's left out now.
I'm the only one without a Star Labs shirt.
Dun, 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 dun.
Yeah. And I got a few buttons and stuff. And one of the buttons, surprisingly enough, I'm going through the buttons things. I'm pins, buttons. And I see, I get a couple like the Flash symbol, and I get another. And then there's one that says Detective Pretty Boy. And I was like, that's our thing.
Yep. Who stole it? Is that from a Crimson Comet listener?
I think they owe us royalties.
Mm-hmm. But I did mention to a few people about the Crimson Comet podcast, and we should be having a bunch of new listeners.
Welcome, new listeners, to our worst episode ever.
If you're a new listener on Crimson Comet and I met you at WonderCon, by all means, drop us a line and reach us at any one of the previously mentioned ways to reach us.
Yes. And mention, how much you disliked Will, but you were like, I'll give this podcast a chance anyways.
Everybody dislikes Will. We know that.
Okay, so guys, Felicity. She was there. You don't have anything to say about Felicity?
I was waiting for John. John's the big Felicity file.
What more can be said about Felicity other than she was there?
She was funny. She was brilliant.
She was funny. She and Ray, I really think, fit much better in Central City Flash World than in Starling City at this point.
Right. Well, because Central City's supposed to be the fun one.
Yeah.
And I like how in this week's Flash and in this week's Arrow, they called out how those two are exactly the same.
Yes, I noticed that too.
Yep.
On both shows. So I watched them back to back.
God, there's two of them.
Yeah.
And then you realize there's a decent chance you two are related.
I hadn't thought of that.
I feel like Arrow is getting funnier.
It has to. It has to.
Like, as dark as that show is getting right now, it's also getting funnier than it has been.
It needs a little levity. You can't... I've always told people when telling a story, you guys both know what I do.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had executive producers in the past who have gotten to their positions from other means and don't really know how to tell a story, and they want everything at a 10. And I'm like, if you have everything at a 10 and you don't bring things down, then everything is flat. You know, it's like the way I pronounce my A's, flat, because I'm originally from Chicago. So you don't have any emotional roller coaster. So you have to have your highs and lows so that when you're at a high, your lows hit that much harder, and then your highs are that much lighter. Arrow has been kind of heavy for a while, and you need a little levity every once in a while so that when the dark moments hit, they really land a lot more solidly, in my opinion.
I think you're totally right.
Yep. It's almost like you know what you're talking about.
Almost like I make a living at it.
And we came off a couple weeks of Flash being really, really good.
Yes.
We had some time travel stuff, the return of the rogues, and lots of crazy revelations about the nature of Dr. Harrison Wells. And this episode was dealing with the fallout from that, but it wasn't a Wells-centric episode. He was very much on the periphery, giving squinty glances at people, but he didn't really do a whole lot.
I don't feel like this week's episode was a bad episode. It was fun. It was good. I just don't think it was something that we're going to be going back to as an integral part of the long story arcs.
Right. It's not a bad episode. It's just everything else has been getting so good. It's kind of a step, like a half step down from what we've been seeing.
It's a breather before we get going again.
Yeah. And I think it provided kind of a reset for some of the characters and just kind of like solidified how everyone's feeling.
Right. Our listener Adam sent us a voicemail, and he had some similar things to say about this week's episode. So let's go ahead and listen to that.
Hey guys, it's Adam. I was actually a bit disappointed with this episode. I mean, it was going to be hard pressed to follow up the Trickster one, but kind of expected more of it with it being one of the sort of semi-crossover episodes. I did like how Joe and even Eddie really enjoyed going on patrol with Flash there. Even Eddie was smiling when they switched drivers. In a forum thread, I called Ray and Professor Stein the DC Science Pros, but after this episode, it's definitely Ray and Cisco. Well, Cisco geeking out on the Atom suit. I was kind of surprised that they were the ones who came up with the Bug-Eyed Bandit name, because that sounds a lot more like one of the ones that Caitlin would come up with. Speaking of the villain, well, what little we saw of her, I think it was a little over the top that they actually gave her just a white version of Felicity's chair from the Quiver. Getting really annoyed with Iris. Hopefully something changes there soon. And Tina showing back up again had me wondering if next season, do you guys think we'll get timeline changed so that they have the real Harrison Wells around, or do you think that Tina might step in as the financial backing and the person who actually owns the, well, Star Labs, assuming they stay there and don't go to a different building at some point? I can't wait to hear what you guys think. Talk to you later. Bye.
Thank you, Adam.
I like that last point. If Wells is kind of out of the picture or is like off being the Reverse Flash full time, she could totally step in and be their backers.
I do like that, like to be the mentor and the money and stuff behind the scenes. That would be great.
Yep.
Now, I really do like what he said about Iris. I have a lot to say about Iris. She's really getting on my last nerve. This episode, she was annoying as hell.
But can you blame her?
No, yes, I can blame her.
She's the only one in that room who does not know that he is the Flash.
But she doesn't know that.
Wow, so Iris is the only one who doesn't know.
Yeah, they called it out on the show. Like, it's totally unfair.
Right.
And when, like, everybody is throwing secret identities around left and right, it seems totally unfair.
When Felicity just, like, spills out every secret from Arrow all season long to Barry.
But she has nothing to be upset about because she doesn't know. I mean, she doesn't know that she doesn't know, so that's not something to get upset about.
But she knows she doesn't know something.
As far as he's concerned.
Okay, so there's two problems I have with this. He's a cop, so there are going to be things he can't tell her. If he's on an active investigation or something, he can't just tell her all the details about that.
That's my point exactly. And the fact that she grew up in a household where her dad is a cop and had to understand that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but so she understands what that can do to a person, and she knows that what Eddie's doing is different. He's not hiding something that he's upset about or something that he just has to keep from her as a matter of routine. She knows it's something big that's affecting him.
Yeah, but you know what? That's bad writing. I just think this is a misstep. The first time I'm going to call shenanigans on the writers, because this is just weak writing on their part. She should suspect something and should suspect it in a different way than being a spoiled little teenage brat who doesn't get what she wants and goes home, which is what she's coming across as. And to start causing trouble at the dinner and acting out at dinner in front of people. Come on, grow up.
In fairness, everybody else had left the table at that point.
No, because Ray was still there, and he was like, yeah, I had to leave. It was getting awkward.
Yeah.
We just didn't see the awkward part. But okay, so I have a problem with Iris's side of that. I also have a problem with Joe and Pretty Boy's side of that, where they're like, well, I'm her father, so I get to make this decision for her. And Eddie's like, well, when do I get to start making this decision for her as her boyfriend? And it's like, well, when you're her husband, you get to make this decision for her. And it's like, what about Iris's vote? That overprotectiveness of these guys for her is kind of annoying for me now.
Well, it's kind of like sexist, chivalristic douchebaggery.
Well, Haley, that's because you're a girl. So hush up, little woman, and let the boys talk.
Yeah, so let the men tell me what's happening, please.
Isn't it Tuesday? Aren't you supposed to be making dinner?
Oh, you really do not want me making dinner. I will tell you that. We already know Will is not a big fan of SpaghettiOs, so I don't know what he's going to do.
I think at this point it's just awkward that she doesn't know. The perfect time would have been right there when they're all at dinner to be like, all right, look, here's the deal. He's the Flash. He's the Atom. She works with the Arrow. Just lay it all out there.
Yeah.
But I loved the humor of Barry basically dying and being like, okay, come on, let's go eat. I'm hungry. And then they're at a restaurant, which is basically only going to serve them like tiny portions for 17 courses.
Like 2 bites at a time.
Yeah. He's like dying of starvation and he just has to sit there. I honestly thought that he got up to leave to like go get some pizza real quick or something.
Well, yeah, because he just did, his Flash thing. He's got to carb up.
He did his Flash thing, then died, then came back.
Yeah, it really takes something out of you.
Which I thought the chest thing was the camera. Now it's the defibrillator.
It's been Cisco'd. It can do many things.
I guess so.
For some reason, I already expected the suit to have a defibrillator in it.
Well, of course it does. I don't know why they couldn't just recharge it. That didn't make any sense.
It's completely fried.
It should be like a hybrid car where it like recharges when he slows down or something.
No, when he runs, it recharges it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, like an alternator.
Yep. Nope, it's a one-off. He can only use it once.
Yep.
This just means that Haley's going to get her wish and we're going to end up seeing a new Flash costume pretty soon. Because he keeps breaking it.
No, I think we're going to hop over into a parallel universe before the end of the season.
And that has something to do with one of the news items that I put up on the show links.
Right. Well, we've been heading down that path all season, and I think anybody that's familiar with Flash lore knows that's coming.
Yeah. But I like the world that we're in. Okay, speaking of, I find it odd that Cisco is starting to remember alternate timelines.
Yeah, I call bullshit. We were watching it, and we were just like, no. Like, how is he?
No, guys, it's like a time echo.
No.
Oh, is this Doctor Who?
Hush.
No. I was like, okay, that didn't happen. He went back and changed it. You don't have dreams of what almost didn't, almost happened. Like, it just doesn't happen.
Well, you could say he's not having dreams about it. Maybe it's like it's created a place that's thin between parallel universes or something, and he's kind of getting some bleed over from that.
Bull.
He shouldn't remember.
He shouldn't remember what didn't happen. There's no way. You can't explain it. And like the whole, it's a crack in the fabric of the time-space continuum that's bleeding into his subconscious. That is pseudoscience bullshit mumbo jumbo.
Dude, it's a fucking comic book show.
And besides, that crack is in Amy's room.
That's like some Star Trek Voyager level shit right there.
I think that's how Iris is going to find out too, is like she's going to be walking along the beaches of North Dakota with either Barry or Eddie, I'm not sure which, and then she's going to have her little time echo of finding out that Barry's the Flash.
And why isn't everyone? Because I think that tidal wave probably destroyed the city.
Yeah. Well, you could... well, no, because he started going back in time before it had a chance to hit the city. So I think it's going to be that it's like major traumatizing events are the things that you can remember from timelines that didn't happen.
So then Wells should remember it too, because he was there.
Yeah, that's right.
He might. You never know.
I don't think he does. Because he went into the Braille room and asked to see the future.
I call BS.
When you start writing about time, there's going to be some place that you're just going to not be able to fill in the gaps.
Yeah.
When you go back and undo something and be like, okay, that never happened, so it never happened.
You're right. It should never happen. It shouldn't be that never happened and then only have specific characters remember that it kind of happened.
It can't be referred to. It can't be alluded to.
Right.
It can't be remembered or deduced or anything because it did not happen.
The only person that should know anything is Barry, and he should only know what he knows.
Right.
Right.
He should know about Cisco or anything like that.
Now, if Cisco had a flash of it when he touched Barry, if there was something about a physical contact with Barry.
Like when Barry was vibrating him back to life.
Right.
That would have made sense.
Then he had that vision. That would have been a perfect space because if you believe that the Speed Force is what allows Barry to travel through time, he used the Speed Force to revive Cisco. That transferred somehow that energy. That makes sense.
Exactly.
So we all agree that that was bullshit writing, that they should have done it that way.
It was bullshit writing, and we just came up with a way they could have done it where it actually would have been plausible.
Because they wanted Cisco to start distrusting Wells leading up to that final realization. Instead, they could have had him distrusting Wells for some other reason, like noticing some odd behavior or something and not quite being able to put his finger on it. And then when Barry vibrates him, that's when he's like, oh my god, this is what happened.
Phrasing.
So vibe. So we've talked about the potential of Cisco becoming Vibe at some point in the future. So he's been killed by vibration, and he's been brought back to life by vibration at this point.
He's picking up good vibrations.
Picking up good vibrations. All right, speaking of puns. Pun game, respect, pun game.
Be careful.
Game recognize game. Be careful.
God.
I loved it.
I know, I thought of you.
I hated it.
From now on, anytime Lobster makes a pun, I'm going to say, bad pun, sorry, just don't die.
Be careful.
I felt like it was the same writing from the Batman and Robin movie.
Oh, come on. That was a good pun. Be careful.
Oh, my.
That was like the moment for
it. Was so Felicity, too.
Yeah.
If we had gone this whole episode without any B puns, I would have been sorely disappointed.
I would have been stung, really.
Really?
See, it was when Bug-Eyed Bandit started doing all the B puns, one after the other. I was just like, stop it. Stop it already.
Those were bad. She's like, I'm the queen of this hive. And she said it like really flat.
But she's a mad scientist. She needs to be making bad puns. It's part of her identity.
I don't know.
Who wrote them? Arnold Schwarzenegger?
I sense a freeze.
Yeah, it was just bad. I'm sorry.
So, I feel like there was a lot going on in this episode, and one of the things that suffered because of it is that we didn't get a lot with the villain.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right.
She was great. Emily Kinney as Brie Larvin.
Larvin?
I was like, wait, why isn't she being played by Brie Larson, the actress? That would have been perfect.
It's just, I really like Emily Kinney, and I'm sorry that we didn't get more from her, that she didn't have more to do.
I know. And did you know that she's 30 years old?
You're making that up, please.
No, I looked her up on IMDb.
And she plays the little girl on Walking Dead?
On Walking Dead, she's like
19.
Yeah, if that. She's like 17, 18, if that. And she's 30 years old. I'm like, oh my god, what is she? This like 5'0".
She was great. She was cute. I loved her honeycomb dress that she had on. I thought that was great.
Oh, that was fantastic.
Yeah,
and she doesn't really get to leave the chair. I love the effect of the bees coming up to the glass and like being her face. And I love the line, "Hello, Dr. McGee. You going to open the window or should I buzz myself in?" I love that. Good pun. Good pun.
Banned in China.
Yes, it would. Yes, it would.
Both the episode of The Flash and this episode of Crimson Comet banned in China.
Banned. But I was really disappointed that obviously we didn't see more of her because we did hear a lot of news leading up to this episode that she was going to be in and she was going to be a nemesis to Felicity. And even Felicity said, oh my god, I have a nemesis. I think I like it. I want to see more of that.
Well, what about, like, the time that the Clock King was her nemesis, or the time that Shrapnel was her nemesis?
Yes, but this is another brainy science girl.
All right. Fair point.
So this I want to see.
Ooh, maybe when we go to the alternate universe, she'll be the one that helps out the superheroes.
Oh.
That would be awesome.
And Felicity will be the bad guy.
But...
Oh, that'd be great. I love seeing people who play good guys play bad guys.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what's his face who plays Mr. Freeze?
Yes, sure. Can we talk about the Candyman scene? where the bees are coming out of the mouth. Candyman, 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 be my victim.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh.
You could not drop your voice that low.
Oh, like Tony Todd? No way. Speaking of which connection, Brandon Routh was on Chuck with Tony Todd, who used to be Chuck's boss, the CIA boss.
Oh, that's right.
And
he was Candyman.
Candyman. Yeah, okay, so bees in the mouth, coming out, freaky, but they're not bees, though. They're not really bees.
No, they're Skynet.
They're bee-bots. Skynet. They're bee-bots.
Beep-bop, beep-bop.
Beep boop.
With the Ant-Man trailer just coming out and the Atom showing up, I was kind of hoping that we would get to see some miniaturization and him flying on a bee. And the bug-eyed bandit is originally Bertram larva, and he was traditionally a Atom villain that they brought in for this. So...
Well, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Maybe she'll be on the spinoff.
Maybe. I don't know.
That would be cool.
I think they're starting to create and put together the people who they're going to have on the spinoff. The unnamed spinoff, of which we don't know what it's about or who's going to be on yet.
Just, it's going to be, and there's going to be a bunch of people in it.
I don't want to give anything away, but you kind of have a hint of that in this week's Arrow.
Yeah.
I think at the very end of this week's Arrow, without giving anything away, you start getting a hint that a third city, something else is happening, metahumans are being created.
Right.
That type of stuff.
And you can kind of see why Ray might be going to the show and Felicity would not.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And keep in mind that at the end of this episode, Bug-Eyed Bandit was not put into the pipeline. She was just arrested by the police.
Right. Well, because they only put the metas in the pipeline. Just crazy people with tech, they don't put down there usually.
Which I was thinking, like, what if the twist was that the bees were actually the metas and they were controlling her?
That could have been cool.
Oh, that would have been interesting. Yeah.
Because, right, like, we've seen the cloud of, like, meta stuff has affected other creatures, presumably Grodd, presumably animals could be affected by it, so why not the bees?
Okay, I have a question. Why did she go after the other two scientists? I understand why she went after her old boss, who fired her. I get that. First of all, I don't know why she didn't go after her first.
Because I think they worked there then, too.
Because they're the ones that turned her in.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I think we need to get a beekeeping suit, guys. That was a great line.
Preferably with symbols on it of superheroes, yeah. Well, there were a lot of great lines in tonight's episode.
Look, up in the sky.
It's that a bird?
It's a plane. It's my boyfriend.
Bees. Why did it have to be bees? Ain't nobody got time for bees.
Ain't nobody got time for bees. Yeah, there were a lot of lines in this week. Yeah, it's kind of like I'm dating Barry, but in Oliver's body. A sentence you will never repeat to anybody.
Yep. Secret's out.
And the relationship between Eddie and Joe is a little awkward. You don't start talking to your girlfriend's dad and tell him how long it's been since you've had sex.
That was funny, though.
What were you thinking?
He's not thinking right, because he hasn't had sex in 2 weeks.
Do you need 15 minutes in the locker room closet or something? Because we'll all stand outside and wait while you're finished. Okay? Actually, we don't want to stand outside. I'll stand somewhere else in the building where I don't have to hear anything. Awkward. You want to talk awkward?
You'll be peering around the corner.
Except he never takes his shirt off.
Why? What is he hiding?
I don't know. Like a third nipple or something? I don't know.
A third eye.
Take your shirt off. Oh, that was the other button that I found. It said, lightning gave me abs.
Lightning gave me abs. That's great.
So do you guys have anything else about the body of the episode, or are you guys ready to move to the stinger?
The body.
I thought we were still talking about the body.
What about this scene with Barry and Iris where he's, like, trying to get her and Eddie on good terms, and she's like, yeah, no. You know what, Eddie? You know what?
Yeah, once again, Iris is pissing me off.
I don't know. I see her side of it. Like, she's smart enough to know that she's being cut out of something. She just needs to do more of that reporter stuff and actually figure her out for herself, because nobody's just going to tell her.
Here's the thing. She's not really a reporter. She's a blogger.
Once again, we obviously know that in the DC universe, being a reporter does not automatically mean that you're in Mensa. Thank you, Lois Lane and Iris. It's basically the stupidest profession you could possibly have.
They know how to type. What else is there to reporting?
That means to be a reporter in the DC universe means that when you graduated, you were not smart enough to cut the deli meat. So you just got a job in an office with a steno pad and writing things down.
All right, let's talk about the stinger, because this is a B episode. Let's talk about the stinger.
So we almost got to go to karaoke, but then we didn't, because Barry wanted to talk to everybody about Wells. I was really disappointed about that.
They're the same
I want to see
person.
everybody sing.
Are you saying there's some kind of connection between Ben and Glory? It's a Buffy reference.
Oh, I was like, what the hell are you talking about? Ben and Glory. I'm like, what
are you talking about?
Buffy. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Because Caitlin was like, well, what does Dr. Wells have to do with the Reverse Flash? Like, come on. 2 and 2 together, Caitlin.
Well, yeah, but here's the other thing. He pulls down he shows him one board. This is everything I know about my mother's murder. And it's got all the, circles and lines and arrows and pictures and everything's connected and everything. And then he pulls down another board and goes, this is everything we know about Dr. Wells. And it's filled. It doesn't have circles and arrows and lines, but it's filled with articles and pictures. I'm like, so?
But he did have the pull down map thingy.
What if it was just like a picture of Dr. Wells and then an equal sign and like a crudely drawn man in yellow? Like
that would have been fantastic.
Hello?
That would be funny. Like drawn by like a 5-year-old with yellow crayon.
This is what we know. He's the frickin' Reverse Flash.
No, like he had one of those transparencies with a really crappy Flash mask, and he like dropped it down over Harrison Wells' face.
It like a projector. He flips on the projector and it like superimposes
like an overhead projector.
mask.
Oh,
Like if you were in high school during the 80s and 90s, like I was, then you remember those overhead projectors where they would have the transparency.
or if you went to a school that was really behind on technology, like I did.
Like
exactly.
I did.
Where they would write with they would run out of the regular markers and end up writing with Sharpies and have to
Yup. Oh boy. So they're gonna start, I guess, building the team to take down Wells. Did you catch the Reverse Flash at the end of the episode?
Yeah, it was like one frame.
Yeah.
They had a close up on Cisco, and then it was
spliced in.
It was a swoosh pan. It was a swoosh pan, one frame of the Reverse Flash, and then went to black.
So do you guys think Caitlin's going to be the one to accidentally spill the beans about their secret investigation? Because I do.
Yep, because she screwed it up the first time.
Because she does not have a poker face.
Couldn't keep the secret. Nope.
Yep.
She could not keep the secret the first time.
She's not like Simmons. She does not have a poker face.
Well, Simmons used to not have a poker face, and then she became a total badass. But that's not what this show's about.
I like it when shows have arcs. Oh, this is great. No, I got to tell you, this is great. So we were, like I said earlier, we were watching Walking Dead. And we're watching the first 2 seasons, and I'm hearing, God, I hate Carol. Carol is such a pussy. She's such a weasel. I hate Carol. And all I keep saying is, just wait. Just wait. But we diverse. Okay. Diverse. That's not the right word.
Digress.
But we digress. Thank you. Diverse. What the fuck?
Somebody's been drinking.
We digest. We swallow and we digest. I've never had anyone take a bee for me.
Dude, there's a total bromance developing between Cisco
and
the Atom, Ray. You'll see more of it in next week's, or in the Arrow episode when you get to it, John.
I saw it. It's
I know.
good.
I know you saw it. I forgot words and names and stuff.
See, like I forgot diverse and other things.
Okay, but we forgot to mention, Wells almost jumped up out of his wheelchair to get the bee.
Get the bee!
Well, he moved his foot like an inch.
Yeah.
Same thing. An inch is a mile when you're supposed to be paralyzed.
Well, he really didn't need to. He didn't really need to jump out of the wheelchair to get the bee. The bee was right in front of his face. If he has speedster powers, he could have just moved his hand really quick and grabbed it with his hand.
Like Danielson.
But then he would have gotten stung.
I love but he's paralyzed. Is he?
Is he really?
Is he really? Like somebody's just gonna like come up behind him and push him out of the chair. Be like, aha! And he'll just lie there.
Oh my god, why'd you do that? It hurts so bad.
Oops.
Okay. News?
Little bit this week, guys. Oh, wait, we forgot the most important line from the episode. Boom. Drop the mic.
Boom. Drop the mic. We have the technology.
If I had a mic. Oh, there's a mic right there.
Yeah, but she wasn't holding it, so she couldn't drop it.
So we have news items.
Yes, we do. So we mentioned a little bit about how we think there's going to be a parallel universe coming up this season. Well, this news article with rumors and stuff in it kind of supports that theory. It says we might go to a parallel universe where Tom Welling is the Flash.
No, he's not the Flash.
Or not the
he
Flash,
would be
Superman. Superman. My bad. Where Tom Welling is Superman.
That would be pretty cool.
I did not watch the last season of Smallville.
I haven't seen any of Smallville.
I stopped watching Smallville like 2 or 3 seasons.
Yeah, I didn't really
into
watch much Smallville at all.
I know that he had all the superpowers, but they never put him in the suit. And from what I understand, and I'm sure that our listeners will write in and correct me, in the very last scene of the last episode, you see him flying and he's got the suit or something.
Yeah. Well, because I think that was part of having the TV rights is they couldn't put him in the suit. Because they had the rights to Clark Kent, but not really to Superman. It's kind of the issue that they'll have with Gotham, is that they don't have the rights to Batman.
That's the dumbest shit.
Yeah. Because the WB is going to make so much money off their movies, and they can't let stuff be in the TV show.
Ugh, that makes me cuckoo bananas.
Eat a dick, Warner Brothers.
Cuckoo bananas.
Speaking of Warner Brothers eating a dick, Michelle MacLaren has parted ways with Warner Brothers over creative differences on the Wonder Woman movie.
Lame.
What happened?
I don't know.
So instead, they got the director who left Thor
over
to
creative
differences.
So yes, Patty Jenkins is taking over as the director of Wonder Woman.
Well, good. At least we have a woman director.
Well, I mean, you have to. But Michelle MacLaren was like, the one part about this Wonder Woman movie that I was like, okay, maybe it won't be a total train wreck. And she's like, nope, I'm leaving this train wreck.
Do you guys think it's because they want to change Wonder Woman too much or not enough?
I don't know. Like, at this point, I don't even know for sure what they want to do with the character.
I don't know if they know.
I think that's probably part of the problem.
We can't even decide what time to start podcasting. I'm sure they're going to have a much more difficult time trying to figure out what to do with Wonder Woman.
Does she wear pants? Does she wear underoos? What does she wear?
They've made that decision because I see a lot of Gal Gadot's leg in these pictures.
I'm one of these people that does not believe in big conspiracy theories because have you ever had 5 people in a room and everyone try and figure out where they're going to go and have dinner?
Yes.
Takes way too long.
And also, once 3 people know a secret, at least 2 of them are going to spill the beans.
Exactly.
Did you guys know that a camel is a horse designed by committee?
Yes, I did.
It's the first I've heard of that. You got a little chuckle out of me.
Nice.
So in the show notes, we also put on the fantastic, if you haven't seen it already, little promo video that CW did with Fight Club and the superheroes versus supervillains. It's pretty awesome. So make sure you click on that and follow the link to the video when you go to our show notes.
I kind of feel like that's also like their proof of concept for this
big crossover show.
This untitled third show that they're going to do. They're like, look, it's going to be like this every week and just have like everybody fight each other.
Yeah, I can see that. Well, they had Adam in it and Firestorm and
Ra's al Ghul and the Reverse Flash.
And everybody was in
Captain
it.
Cold.
Even Canary.
Yep.
Yeah, and she didn't totally suck.
Because it wasn't her. It was her stunt double the whole time. Just like it really wasn't John Barrowman.
I know. I was surprised when they even had him take his hood off because I was like, oh, he didn't even have to show up for this.
He showed up for one shot.
So if you're enjoying this podcast, you can check out other great podcasts at the GonnaGeek website, like the latest episode of Tyrion's Landing, The Wars to Come. Jeannie, Rachel, and Nikki welcome Game of Thrones back with some Sesame Street, Seth Meyers, and Saturday Night Live. Boobs, dragons, butts. Find out what they thought of the premiere.
Oh, and I just found out this week that my alma mater, Northern Illinois University, and my professor, Jeff Chown, is teaching an entire class based on the Game of Thrones.
Ooh.
At a graduate level. Isn't that cool?
I've complained about this before on other podcasts. We did not have these kind of classes when I was going to school.
I took a class, when I was in grad school, I took a class on Twin Peaks, which don't get me started on that fucking fiasco. I am so pissed off that David Lynch backed out.
Well, so is the entire cast.
Yeah, I know. Someone's going to be able to do something to get him back. Because without him on Twin Peaks, it's basically Twin Peaks Season 2.
I mean, he pretty much said it's about the money. It's all about the money.
Well, it's not about the money for him. It's not about the money for him.
It's about, like, the production budget.
It's about the production budget. In order to do what he wants to do,
it's all about
vision,
the money.
Yeah, they don't want to pay up the money for the production.
Which I'm sorry, like, have you seen the production values on, like, Game of Thrones and these other shows? I mean, you can do a lot with a little, too. Like, look at Spartacus.
I was just going to use that as my argument. Spartacus was very much green screened, and it's a completely different feel. Whereas Game of Thrones spends millions and millions and millions and millions and millions. I mean, they shoot in, like, 4 different continents.
Yeah, they're everywhere.
They shoot all over the world.
Like, the reason Spartacus could do it on the cheap is because they're like, oh, we'll just make everything really stylized. It doesn't have to be realistic.
Exactly.
Which is a way you can go. It's a valid choice, but it might not necessarily fit with the story you're trying to tell.
Twin Peaks has already set a style.
Mm-hmm.
So you need to follow that style. You cannot change the style completely.
Right.
Because then it wouldn't be Twin Peaks.
If season 5 of Game of Thrones was Spartacus, people would lose their fucking shit.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, the realism versus the
fantasy.
But I guess I wasn't really trying to compare the two. I was trying to say more of like, as you're doing Twin Peaks or something like that, you can do good stuff with not that much money. You just have to spend it right. Like, I'm sure that in whatever year it came out, dollars, that they're going to spend more than they spent on the original Twin Peaks season 1. You know what I mean? Like, they're not going to do it like, oh, well, we'll give you half the budget that you spent on the original series when it originally aired in...
It was in the 80s, and it was on
in
ABC.
In the 80s. This is from the man who took a class about it. It aired in the 80s.
He didn't say he did well in the class.
I did do well in the class. I just don't remember the exact year it started. It was because it had to be in the 80s. But
1990. So you are so wrong. You are off by a freaking decade.
1990. Well, 1990 could be considered the 80s, kind of, by certain people.
By people that don't own calendars.
People who don't own it. Whatevs, you know. But it was ABC. I know. I remember that much.
I'm just saying, like, they can't be offering peanuts, you know what I mean?
Right.
They have to be offering, like, a substantial amount of money because it's Starz that's doing it, right? Or Showtime?
Showtime,
okay. Like, they have money to spend.
But not as much money as, like, HBO.
Yeah, but I mean, they made Homeland. That was a fairly successful show, at least for the beginning of it.
I haven't watched Homeland, but isn't it mostly, like, a procedural kind of show?
It's like a spy espionage thriller. A lot of stuff in the CIA, a lot of stuff that's like Middle Eastern too with that. So, I don't know, like Twin Peaks is small town, right?
Yeah.
They could do that. I don't know. He didn't think the money was right, and that's his call. But I don't see why, like, if this is something Showtime really wants to do, just pony up the cash.
He's also kind of batshit crazy.
Well, yeah.
Is Showtime doing Outlander, or is that Starz?
That's Starz.
I can't keep this shit straight.
Outlander is so good.
I haven't watched a single frame of that.
Oh, it is so good.
Isn't that a big chick show?
It is a chick show. It's got inexplicably hot Scotsmen in it. It's so good. I think you'd enjoy it.
I want to watch it.
Yep.
I'll check it out. I'll put it on the list.
Okay.
Put it on the list.
I'll put it on the list.
Put it in the queue.
I've got so many TV shows I have to check out. I still have to catch up on Daredevil, so.
Speaking of people watching TV shows, how many people watched this week's episode of The Flash?
We had 3.67 million viewers live plus same day.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Did we have any cool feedback about our show?
We had some feedback about our show. Mostly that it's not out yet. Sorry, guys. It'll be out by the time you hear this one. But the Dr. 1980s was saying he's looking forward to it. I miss your voices and the need to shout out my radio when you don't know the answers. So
keep on shouting.
Yeah, you'll have plenty of opportunity to shout this week.
Wait, who's listening to the radio? Is that one of the things that you can listen to us on? Is that like Spreaker?
You can listen to it through your speakers.
Lazy River Radio, right?
Right.
So you're on your lazy river, you have your radio. Don't drop your radio in the lazy river.
I feel like Lazy River Radio is, a really old boombox on an inflatable tube that you take on your float trips.
In the middle of a pool with like an extension cord.
With the beer hanging underneath
Yeah,
it.
You're dragging a cooler of beer behind your raft.
Exactly.
And then another raft that's got your little boombox on it.
Right, with like 8 double D sized batteries.
Yes.
Double D.
See what I did there? See what I did?
What you did there, I see it. And we got some more feedback from Adam, too.
Hey guys, it's Adam. Just found out some really good news. Well, mixed news, but mostly good. The David Ramsey panel at MegaCon next weekend got moved to Saturday, which is the day I'm not going to be there. But it's because Danielle Panabaker was at it, so I'll be getting my picture taken with her on Sunday. So that'll be fun. Talk to you guys later. Bye.
You're going to have to send us that picture so we could post it.
Yeah, I think he did share it on Twitter or Facebook or something, so I'll just have to track it down.
Panabaker.
That name is totally made up. So like I said, if you're enjoying our podcast, there are tons of other podcasts available on GonnaGeek.com, including the official GonnaGeek podcast and their latest episode, A Heated Podcast. The tempers flare in this episode as Wing dukes it out with Steven over the state of the DC cinema universe, and news of Star Trek crossing over with Green Lantern is enough to fire up JS. In between these topics, the crew discusses Ryan Reynolds' first images on the Deadpool set and how Android apps are now available through Chrome. Finally, Steven wraps up with a special edition of Steven's Geeky Stuff, the Audio-Technica AT2005 USB First Impressions.
That's Greek to me.
You're Greek.
No, I'm not. I'm Cuban.
That's racist.
No, that's racista.
Es racista.
It's racista.
Besides being racist, what have we learned this week, guys?
I've learned that Felicity watches Discovery Channel.
There's a lot to discover.
I learned that secrets are no fun unless you share with everyone.
Which they do in this universe.
Except for Iris.
Poor Iris.
That's not everyone. She looked hot in that white dress, though. Can I just say that?
You're right. Out of that entire universe, she's the only one that doesn't know the secrets.
She is. Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, well, until last week, it was her and Lance.
Yeah, but now Lance knows everything.
And I learned that Ray can't keep it up.
Small problem.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Shrinkage. Adam. Shrinkage.
It gets cold in that suit.
No, he's got a heating problem.
Because the belt keeps overheating. You know, it's killing off the sperm.
Right. That's the problem.
So if you guys are enjoying the show, please leave us a review on iTunes and let us know what you think. And if you've got some feedback for us, send us a voicemail so we can include it in our next episode. Until then, this has been Crimson Comet, episode 22. Join us next week as we discuss The Flash, season 1, episode 19. Who is Harrison Wells?
Who is Harrison Wells?
Who is he? Who is this guy?
Who is Harrison Wells?
Who is Harrison Wells?
Wells.
Hui.
Until then, I'm Haley.
I'm Lobstah.
And I'm Rum Daddy.
Bye.
Later.
See ya.
Thanks for listening. If you want to leave us feedback, you can find all of our contact information at crimsoncometpodcast.com. Find us on Twitter at Crimson Podcast or Facebook at facebook.com/Crimson Comet Podcast. Leave us a voicemail at 423-FLASH53. That's 423-352-7453. The opinions heard on this podcast are those of the individual host and do not represent GonnaGeek. The podcast is not affiliated with DC Comics, Warner Brothers, or the CW. No infringement is intended. The music heard is by Kevin MacLeod of Incompetech.com.
Why no lady? Hey.
You harlot, you.
I am.
Why two?
What?
'Cause
Number two, poop. Get it?
Get it.
Yeah.
It's a poop joke.
It's poop.
Try to keep up, Will.
Yeah, that's what we do here.
I'm on too many podcasts, my life is so hard.
Welcome to episode 22 of Crimson Comet. This week, we'll be discussing The Flash, season 1, episode 18, All-Star Team Up. I'm your host, Haley, a.k.a. Awesome Engineering Girl.
I'm your host, Will, a.k.a. Rum Daddy.
And I'm your host, John, a.k.a. Lobster.
Crimson, Crimso, Nicum, Patad, Cast. Cry, Masun, Me, Podcast. CrimsonCometPodcast.com. All right, so welcome to the Twin Peaks podcast here on the GonnaGeek Network.
It seemed long to me.
That's what she said.